Welcome to the Eagle City Multifamily Real Estate Show. This will be well worth your time today with Brandon Martinez as our guest speaker and CAPEX Management here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we're very excited to see your presentation, Brandon. So this call is being recorded and it will be posted up on our YouTube channel as well for anyone that wants to record to listen to it later. And this is not legal or financial advice. It's simply professional sharing what we do. So I am very excited to have you, Brandon, on our show today, and all the knowledge that you provide and the partnership that we're involved in as well. So
absolutely
excited to do our next deal together. And don't forget, we're doing a 7-day fast on September 1st.
Yeah, the people that have to stick to that are the people that created it, for sure.
Right. Right.
Out. Yeah,
that's right. I'm excited for it. So Brandon, go ahead and show us what you have here on CAPEX Management. Tell us why we should be using your services.
Okay, give me 1 second, Herb. I'm going to turn it
sure.
volume down.
For those that aren't aware of it, are you ready?
That's good. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Go ahead, finish that thought.
Oh yeah, for those that aren't aware, Brandon, Jared, and myself are doing a 7-day water only fast challenge. So we'll be not eating for 7 days, and so that'll be a reset to our mind and body. So just some things that we feel are important as we do, as aside from our everyday work, right?
Yeah, no,
it makes build our bodies, reset, right?
Yep, that's what we're gonna do. It's crazy. There's so many YouTube videos and research on it. We're kind of late to the party, but it's probably not the easiest thing to do. I think 75 hard is difficult because of the length of time, but I think this is a lot more difficult because we're just so used to eating every day. Your body's probably going to go through some pretty big physical challenges as well. So cool.
Oh, it does.
All right, I'll jump right in. So my name is Brandon Martinez. My company is called CAPEX Partners. We improve apartment communities, and we do have a short amount of time today, so I'm just going to try to get right through it. So a little bit about my background. I've been in multifamily for about 6 years now, and I started off as really just a student of the game, tried to learn as much as possible. I was very hesitant to do anything. I just wanted to be really comfortable first. And so I joined a mentoring program that, that's that a lot of the people are in, the Brad Sumrock mentorship. And from there, I started investing passively. That was the easiest way I could learn. So let me fast forward here to my passive deal. So you see, I have 8 passive deals that I've done over the 6 years. One of them was with Grant Cardone. That was pretty exciting. And then through that, after I got enough education, I finally was able to do some GP deals. So I've done 4 GP deals totaling 820 units. But during this entire time, obviously I was learning to be an investor, but I was also learning to be a due diligence guy, a CAPEX guy, all the stuff that comes with asset management, especially the stuff that has to do with construction management, because that's my background. My background's in construction. And through my company, CAPEX Partners, I was able to manage over 47 deals either managing the due diligence or CapEx projects, some one, some both. And when you've seen 47 properties, one day you wake up and you're like, man, I guess I know a little bit here. At least I know more than the brand new student, right? I'm like, man, I got to share this stuff with students so that they can avoid the pitfalls and mistakes that I made. And luckily, none of the stuff that I ran into was so costly that it affected the deal, or every deal we've been part of has gone really well. We have a great track record. But definitely saw some things that we could do better the next time, right? We're always looking for how we can do better next time. And I won't get into my background too much today, but just to summarize that, came from single family, worked for a commercial construction company, and then finally got into multifamily. And I think if I could summarize why I'm so passionate about CapEx and due diligence, is because I was a contractor myself for many years. And when you're a contractor, obviously you think like a contractor and you learn to do that. But I felt like there was a lot of checks and balances that were missing. Corruption is a strong word, but I think there's a little bit of corruption in every industry. I don't think construction's special. But in Texas, of all states, they don't have, like a lot of other states do, they don't have the certification requirements and licensing requirements that a lot of most states do have when it comes to construction. So it's kind of the wild, wild South, and you got to be really careful out there. And what I realized is that there were so many real estate owners, people that have invested their hard-earned money in real estate, and that was their business, but they didn't have a construction background. And I saw time and time again, contractors come in and take advantage of that situation. They're like, I got this guy, he owns this big building, he owns an apartment complex. He's got all this money to spend on improving it. But he doesn't have he's not a contractor himself. And so he doesn't know the ins and outs of labor, material pricing, and different types of strategies you can use to get this stuff done. And that's when they can either use that moment to go, you know what, I'm going to educate my client, my real estate investor, develop a long-term relationship with them, give them really good pricing and play the long game. Or I can just take full advantage of this situation, make a ton of money and get out of this situation. And hopefully my reputation doesn't take a hit. And I think time and time again, it's not always that the contractors are trying to take advantage. I think that sometimes their business is struggling, or they're trying to make it to that next milestone, and they kind of see too much opportunity. Their eyes get too big when they say, hey, these guys, Herb and Brandon, they're going to spend $3 million on this deal. And their eyes get really big. And it's human nature to, if nobody's watching, if nobody's watching you, it's human nature to take the aggressive route, so I don't blame anybody. But anyways, that's why I do what I do, and I'm passionate about this. So today's topics is missing data multifamily investors should be aware of throughout the due diligence process. And number two is what you should consider before deciding who will manage capital improvement projects. So we might not have time to get into the CapEx side, but I did want to focus on the due diligence side, because this is where passive investors can really make an impact on their decision making. And Herb's heard a little bit of this from another meetup where we discuss these topics, but since then I've come up with a little bit more ways to condense it and give you the powerful stuff fast. So you guys, our time is at a premium, right? So this is a QR code. You can download this. This is a checklist that I put together over the years, that every time we had a due diligence done by a third party, not my company, but another company, these are items that I noticed were either missing details or entire categories were missing. So this doesn't mean that every due diligence company has to give you all of this information I'm about to give you. But if they don't get it, who's going to get it? So I got to get it as the investor, somebody on your team, maybe ask the property management company, somebody's got to get it. Doesn't matter who. It just information that you really got to grab. And so if I was going to invest passively in a deal, my very first question would be, first of all, who's doing the due diligence for you guys? Are you willing to share the due diligence report? So that's kind of a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? A topic that maybe deal sponsors don't want to get into because I'm not used to them sharing the due diligence report. I've only seen them because I'm usually the CapEx guy. So of course they're going to give me that report because I need it to do my job. I haven't heard of much where they share it with the passive. Herb, have you heard that where the deal sponsors share the due diligence report with passive investors? Very doesn't happen, does
Not,
it?
yeah, not unless you ask for it. I, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're gonna be like, what?
Charles is good. He may know he's had a lot of passive investing experience, but
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so it might be a kind of a iffy question if they want to share that, but what is there to hide? I mean, it might have them ask a bunch of questions. I understand both sides of the coin there. So if they are willing to share that with you, but more importantly, if you can just derive some questions for yourself for your own research about the due diligence report, maybe they can give you just that feedback on it. And so my first question would be, what categories are being covered in this due diligence report? And they could easily email you that. So in our investment circle, it's usually these 11 major categories that I'm about to show you guys. And you'll see the biggest difference between a basic report and what I call a comprehensive report, or what I've also nicknamed the asset intelligence report. And you'll see how different they are. So here we go. Getting into, oh, and I guess I should explain the Brian Fantana gif there is, this is my analogy for due diligence reports, because when it comes to providing all the information you need, 60% of the time, it works every time. So, okay, I don't know if you guys saw
Yeah.
Anchorman, but yeah, hopefully. And then we have another Ron Burgundy right here. So here's the 11 basic categories, and there's a reason that these are here. I mean, these are the big ones. These are the ones that matter. A lot of these are hidden. You can't see them all. And so the due diligence company is going to get these reports and budgets for every one of these categories, but there's some major details missing from them. And it's not, I'm not trying to sit here and point blame at the due diligence company or say they don't do a good job, or, they're doing something wrong. Not it at all. It's what it is they have 2 days, maybe a week, and they got to get in, get out. They usually don't have access to everything. They're not allowed to touch, they can't go in there with their tools and take things apart and put them back together and really look inside. So you can't blame them for this, but that doesn't mean you guys as the investor should stop. You should continue to push forward and see how much information you can get, especially if you have reports from, let's say there's the city that has violations, or the lender has some reservations about the property, or your investors are going to ask you questions about this property. Hey, we heard it's a flat roof. Everybody tries to, they're like, oh, we got to run the other way. That's completely not true. It doesn't, even if it's a flat roof, it can be an excellent deal. You just have to find the right experts and budget correctly. It could still be a great deal. If it has boilers, it could still be a great deal. If it has chiller, it could still be a great deal. We're just trained in these educational seminars to try to find properties that are easier to manage and less risky than those types of deal. And it is true. You do have to, it is a little bit more risk, but you just manage that risk. You just got to partner with the right people. So just to give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about, some details that might be missing from the due diligence report is like the interiors. Okay. So most of our deals in multifamily, you're going to go in and you're going to do something to the interiors in order to get those rent bumps. I mean, usually 90% of the time we have to do something to the interiors to get those rent bumps. So you're like, okay, I got my due diligence report. Here's my my budget for interiors. Well, that's not the budget for your business plan. That's just the repairs you're going to need to budget for. So the due diligence company is going to go in and tally up every repair, every replacement of every item in the interiors. And they're going to say, hey, we put it all together in a spreadsheet. It looks like there's an average of $3,000 to $5,000 per unit that need repairs or replacements. That is not your interior budget. That's your interior repair budget. You, as the investor, as the deal sponsors, or you can ask your due diligence company to do this. It might be an extra fee. Hey, great. We know how much it's going to cost to repair those damages. How much is it going to cost to do these upgrades we have plans for? It's totally separate category. Repairs, upgrades, two separate things. The upgrades are going to cost you another level, right? New appliances, stainless steel, you're going to go vinyl flooring, or you're going to go granite countertops. And then so it's two different budgets. You add them together, and that's your interior budget. It's not really the due diligence company's job to get you that, but you can definitely ask. So that's just one. And then I'd say another one would probably be, on the plumbing. We'll just say on the domestic lines, plumbing, domestic, hot and cold. Well, they're not going to go around and check for water shutoff valves. Okay. Another reason is that it's a time thing. They're going to get in there. They're going to camera the lines. They're going to look at the sewer. When it comes to the domestic lines behind the walls and around the buildings, they just, as far as I know, they don't check for that unless you ask them to. And occasionally I've gotten a no, like, hey, we don't do that at all. So it depends on the due diligence company. But why is it important, you're wondering, to see if the domestic lines, the water shutoff valves work? Well, guess what happens at every property, even A-class properties? You get leaks. And instead of turning water off to the entire property, you are going to turn the water off just at that building or that unit, as to not affect any of the other tenants. Well, if that thing's broken or it doesn't work, you now have to shut off the water to the entire property. Next thing that's going to happen, let me just give you a real life story. Next thing that happened in this particular project is the tenant said, you know what, I'm pissed off. I don't have water and I need to take a shower. I'm going to call the city. There's those tenants out there that have the city on speed dial, and you got to be ready for that. So cities out there, hey, what's going on? Why are we turning the water off to the entire property? Oh, well, we're going to fix the water shutoff valve. So then next thing you know, there's a violation. So while you're out getting bids to fix these domestic lines, the shutoff valves, all of a sudden another person calls the city and another person calls the city. And now, this is actually a true story, the city's going to give you a stop lease. And I don't know if that's the exact terminology, but that's what somebody told me it was called. And a stop lease is where you can no longer rent units. Your cash flow has just been on pause. Your entire business has basically been shut down. You cannot lease new units until these violations are taken care of. All because during due diligence, you didn't budget or inspect these water shutoff valves. So just the tiniest things can have this snowball effect and turn into an entire nightmare. Then you got bad reviews. Then it's hard to get marketing done, and it just goes on from there. So every dollar matters, every single thing counts, and it really adds up quickly. But don't feel overwhelmed. If you're a part of a real estate team or you're by yourself, I'm not sitting here saying all of this is on you. You can hire somebody, partner with somebody that knows what they're doing and has been doing this a long time, or get a teammate that wants to be the boots on the ground, that wants to do asset management, and take care of all this stuff and delegate it. If this isn't your thing and you'd rather just be raising capital or underwriting deals, stick to that. Get good at that. Stay in your lane, but find somebody that wants to do this stuff. You can also, property management companies are a big help too. But from my experience, they don't get involved in the CapEx stuff as we'd like them to, but that's for a good reason. They're focused on operations and running your deal. So on to the next one. Hey, how are we doing on time, Herb?
We have about 5 minutes.
Perfect. Okay, I'll wrap it up here. I got 2 more slides. Okay. So here's some categories that are entirely missing from the due diligence. So from the due diligence report, on the previous slide, I was just showing you details that were missing from the categories that are already on there. You won't find these categories anywhere on most due diligence reports. Categories like landscaping, drainage, safety and security, and sustainability. If you guys are looking at these right here, hopefully you're like, wow, these are important. Safety and security, that's one of the biggest issues that you'll face at a Class C property. So once again, assigning somebody to make sure this is done. You can actually find a lot of safety and security stuff in the property management company's employee handbook. You just got to make sure that they're actually going to implement these strategies and practice these strategies, and they have a game plan for them. Drainage is a big one for multiple reasons, but the big one is foundations. It starts to affect the foundations at the property. You'll lose your soil, your plants, any landscape you're doing. And then retaining walls is a big one. Your retaining walls will start to go, and then your buildings start to shift. And then sustainability, guys, it's 2023. There's entire countries that have gone solar, just like at the drop of a hat, because they knew that it was amazing. Clearly, Texas is a little bit rebellious when it comes to going sustainable, but the ideas are out there. You're looking at one of them in the picture. This is low maintenance landscaping, exerscaping. It looks real nice. If you've been to Arizona or any of these desert areas, they don't have grass because it's too hot. And if you've looked outside lately, it's still too hot. And now we have freezes in the winter. So I vote for, me personally, I'm voting for desert landscaping, zero exerscaping, xeriscaping, many names all over Texas. It'll save on water, and it also reduces your landscaping maintenance cost. So this is just improving the value of your deal. And I think it looks great too. So that's a sustainability project. The only other ones that I would bring up that I don't see many people underwriting is like water pressure reducer valves, water optimization, water pressure optimization valves. That's separate from like the low flow toilets, aerators, and shower heads. But that's a big one that you can do. Also, submetering, water submeters at every unit, catch leaks in real time, reduce those water costs. Those are all sustainable projects that help the community and the environment, and increase your NOI as well. So I'll wrap it up here. This is what I'm hoping for. I'll just put it out there. What I'm hoping that the future of multifamily looks like in terms of a new due diligence report. I'm hoping that in about 6 to 12 months, everybody's using an asset intelligence report instead of just a due diligence report on every one of their deals, so that they don't miss any items that could affect their deal or their investors' money. And so I break it down into these 11 categories. And what you'll notice is that when you get to number 7 through 11, none of those are on the basic due diligence report that we all know today. And so amenities, safety, security, OPEX and convenience, branding and marketing. And what I can do is send you guys this checklist so you can read through it on your own, and you'll get way more details about any of these categories. And then just use this checklist. And like I said, it might be hard to find a due diligence company. We can do it, but it might be hard to find one that's going to do all of these items for you. But make sure you're getting these things, so it'll make the biggest difference. And here's one thing that I forgot to mention on the last meetup. If you will take the time, it is hard because you don't have much time when you're going after deals. If you'll take the time to get all of this information and put it in your underwriting, the moment you underwrite the deal, instead of just getting the really generic numbers, you're going to have a competitive advantage. You're going to be able to offer probably more for this property and win the deal. I mean, we're talking a couple $100,000 to $1 million difference, and that'll give you that competitive edge to start winning some deals. So I'll wrap it up just by saying that, due diligence, this is where deals are made. This is where deals are won. And this is also